Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Friday, August 2nd, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2024. No tsunami threat to Hawaii after a 6.8 magnitude earthquake strikes the Philippines. But the big story, the Chilcotin River landslide the other day in British Columbia could cause massive flash flooding in the next day or so. We'll have the full details coming up, and we have a hurricane brewing. Potential tropical cyclone 4 is gathering steam and headed for western Florida. Keep calm. It's boom time. The National Hurricane Center tags potential tropical cyclone 4 and issues advisories as the track shifts towards central western Florida. A quick look at the potential tropical cyclone 4 showing maximum sustained winds at 30 miles per hour, and a key message now coming out for the tropical cyclone potential. Heavy rainfall may result in flash and urban flooding across portions of Florida and the coastal areas of the southeast this weekend through Wednesday morning. Isolated river flooding will also be possible. Tropical storm conditions are expected Saturday night within the tropical storm warning area in southwest Florida from East Cape Sable to Boca Grande. Tropical storm conditions are possible in the Florida Keys on Saturday and along the Florida west coast north of Boca Grande to Suwannee River Saturday night and Sunday, where a tropical storm watch is in effect. A quick look. The spaghetti models are tightening up, and over 90% are putting that storm coming up near Tampa and making its way across northern Florida and just rafing the coast here of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina before it finally makes its way away from the mid-Atlantic. Now, the good news is in the last 24 hours, the intensity totals have dropped dramatically. There is just two models showing Cat 1. There is actually 3 models. This one has it at Cat 1 just for a little bit of time, but the majority of the intensity models showing this will probably be a tropical storm with maximum sustained winds at 50 miles per hour. So, a low-level storm, but a dangerous and deadly one indeed because of the potential for flooding. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at some of the maps, shall we? Here is the rainfall potential through the next several days, through Wednesday. And you can see a wide swath in the next few days of the West Coast could be picking up 6 to 8 inches of rain. 4 to 6 inches for the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, and 4 to 6 inches for a huge swath of Florida. This is going to cause river flooding, and it's the flooding, not the hurricane force winds or the tropical storm winds, that cause the most damage. And we see this with every hurricane, but no one seems to heed the warnings. Well, the warnings have been laid out. Are you picking it up? Here's the full forecast. Tropical storm conditions this weekend in southwest Florida. Heavy rainfall in Florida and the southeast. Heat in the northwest and southeast. Tropical storm warnings and watches have been issued for portions of southwest Florida. Heavy rainfall may result in flash and urban flooding across the state, as well as the southeast this weekend through Wednesday. Dangerous heat will spread across the lower Mississippi Valley, Gulf Coast, and Mid-Atlantic, and another heat wave is building across the northwest and northern high plains through Saturday. Go over to weather.gov and click on your county, especially in Florida, for more pertinent information. Let's take a quick look at the GFS model and move it through 3-6 hours. It looks like no severe weather threat. The East Coast, there is some light rain that's going to be dissipating over the evening. And by morning, maybe a little bit more light rain and severe weather here by Sunday. You see that popping up? This is when that tropical depression will start to develop here off the coast of western Florida, southwestern Florida. And then by Sunday, August 4th, right off the coast of, let's say, Bonita Beach, it could be some severe weather threat there as the storm develops and moves north towards Tampa. Here we can see it's still a tropical storm as it makes its way across. Still a tropical storm, and at this point, it could be a Cat 1 storm, and that would be Tuesday off the coast of South Carolina. That's bad news for people that are vacationing in South and North Carolina. It even makes landfall here in this model on North Carolina as a Cat 1 or Cat 2 storm for 9 hours. These are just models, but I'm showing you what they're showing. And even as it goes up into the Northeast in this current GFS, it explodes over New Jersey and Boston and Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. It's insane. Look at that. Still a Cat 1 storm on this model as it makes its way up to the Maritime Canada. So a lot to go here, and that would be Saturday, August 10th is what this model is showing. It's retaining strength, and that's because we're in the middle of summer, and these coastal waters right offshore here are very warm on the coastal plain, especially on the continental shelf. Holy macaroni. This could be an amazing storm lasting for days as it makes its way up the East Coast. So buckle up, Buttercup, and be prepared. Now let's move on to the massive British Columbia landslide blocking the river, and this natural feature may burst. Take a look at this shot. Here is the landslide covering. Here's the dry river valley on this side, river dammed up from the other side. This is 90 feet high, 30 meters. So that's quite a high landslide. And as of this morning, there's the landslide coming in here, different angle, but you can see the Chilcotin River is backing up behind that slump. It's probably much higher. This is about 24 hours ago, maybe 16 hours ago. And they are predicting that in the next 24 to 48 hours, this basin is going to fill up and it's going to breach somewhere right in here, catastrophically. Now, the good news, this is in a very remote region, and only 14 homes upstream had to be evacuated for like 10 miles. So that not a lot of people are going to be affected, yet there are still people on this river that could be catastrophically affected when this landslide breaches. Now, the interesting thing is this entire stretch of the Chillicothe River is filled with landslides just like this over the last few thousand years. So this is a normal part of life here, and it's to be expected geologically. Here is a full breakdown of what's going on up there. I hope you enjoy it.
Government officials say they are planning for the possibility of a catastrophic break. A landslide in the Farwell Canyon has the Chilcotin River completely blocked. Behind the slide, a new lake has formed, which is growing by the second, and there's concern how long the dam can hold.
We don't have a certain timeline of when that could breach. The risk is imminent, and that is why the evacuation order has been put in place downstream of the dam.
Now, taking a closer look at those evacuation orders on the Chilcotin River, there was 2 of them issued by the Caribou Regional District, which covered 12 homes and 13 people. And those folks were asked to leave the area immediately, head north on Highway 20 up to Williams Lake, where the Emergency Services Center is located. An emergency alert sent out Wednesday asked people and boaters to immediately leave areas on the river or along the banks of the Chilcotin and down the Fraser River to Hope. The slide is 30 meters high and 600 meters long. The Thompson-Nicola Valley Regional District is stopping ferries at Lytton and Big Bar. This image shows the slide causing a sudden drop in water levels at Big Bar. Big Bar is the first hydrometer on the Fraser south of the confluence of the Chilcotin.
That portion of the Chilcotin Valley is full of old landslides.
This slide occurred on a burned out area of the Chilcotin River banks from the 2017 fires.
Officials will be monitoring the site round the clock in case of a breach. Troy Charles, Global News.
Give them a thumbs up over there at Global News. Tell them Diamond sent you, and maybe even subscribe to the channel. That was great reporting, and we always appreciate the truth. No tsunami threat to Hawaii after a 6.8 magnitude quake strikes the Philippines. Holy macaroni. Well, actually, that's good news that there's no tsunami threat from a 6.8 magnitude. It was initially listed as 7 mag, downgraded to 6.7 in some regions. You can see the quake here is still up at 6.8 magnitude, 18 kilometers northeast of Barcelona, Philippines. Who knew? Now you do. Multiple aftershocks in the region are showing up. Take a look. There is the 6.8, largest aftershock 5.3, and multiple 4 magnitudes, which is normal activity. Not a lot of displacement. If there was any displacement, we would have small tsunamis, and none of that information is coming out. Some pressure releases up here in the Cascadia region, 4.4 and another 4.1. Good news as pressure is released in Cascadia and not catastrophically. A 3.1 in Hogback, Wyoming is the largest quake in the United States, and normal activity worldwide. We've got a 4.8 in Kazakhstan, as well as a 4.4 in Uzbekistan, which is closing up the Stans. A quick look over at the Reykjanes Peninsula shows low-level seismicity as we are waiting for an imminent eruption to develop, and it doesn't look like it's developing now. Everything is quiet there as more magma is pouring into Svartsengi as we speak. Worldwide volcano news. Sabancaya today puffing to 22,000 feet. We've got Bagana, 25,000 foot puff. That is quite significant. Ibu to 10,000. Semeru to 15. Sabancaya to 20,000. Reventador, 14,000 foot puff. Sangay to 23,000. Swanosima, a 10,000 foot puff there. And take a look. Stromboli volcano. Mild explosions at the summit vents. Activity level down to high. And here we can see an uptick over the last several weeks at Etna with no significant changes, but slowly increasing activity. Sabancaya to 22,000, Ibu to 10, Semeru to 15,000 foot. Who knew? Now you do. Reventador, 15,000 foot puff, Sangay to 23,000. Stromboli, for several days now, the activity at the volcano has been characterized by significant degassing as well as its typical intermittent, small, delicious Strombolian explosions. I love that Stromboli. Sakodajima on the last 9,000 foot puff today, Ibu to 10. Dukono to 8,000 for August 3rd, and that wraps up the list. As we head over to space weather news. Take a look at what's going on the sun. We've got a bunch of sunspots. We've reached new record highs in solar, in SSI. Where are the numbers? SFI is a new record high. Sunspot number is a new record high, 238. I think we went to 210 for the average for the month. And that means we've hit solar max. It's all downhill from here, kids. We do have a 2-day G2 geomagnetic forecast in the detailed forecast for a glancing blow from a long-duration M-flare that happened yesterday. That should arrive in the next 24 hours and could last up to 9 hours based on the current models. In the last 24 hours, the most significant flare is right here. I believe it's an M7.4, and no CME associated with that. Currently, KP is at 3, and the aurora forecast is paltry. As we take a look at telemetry here, let me shrink down my mug. All right, there I am. Let me move myself up here. All right, we can see that there was a glancing blow of something about 12 hours ago, maybe one of the small M flares from 2 days ago. But no push in telemetry whatsoever, a short jump here in density. So we're waiting for a rapid change in the BZ to the south to start to begin any geomagnetic storm. And that won't happen until potentially tomorrow night. Hopefully not tomorrow afternoon. Fingers crossed for an aurora weekend. Polar bear boom may threaten Greenland adventurers. Yeah, you've heard it for 10 years. The polar bears are dying, climate change, gobbledygook, there's no ice, they can't hunt, they can't fish. That's all nonsense. Susan Crockford, one of the leading polar bear scientists, has been screaming at the top of her lungs for 10 years that polar bear populations have been increasing since you said they were in danger. Polar bears, in fact, have never been in danger. When they first did the first polar bear study, they only found 6,000 of them. That sounds like an endangered species. Today, tens of thousands of them roam everywhere, from Alaska to Maine. They're not in Maine, but they're certainly on Greenland. I hope they don't make it to Maine. That would be insane. But polar bears don't often show up in southern or western Greenland anymore. But this year has been an exception. Only yesterday, 2 appeared near Nuuk, Greenland's capital. And according to Aleqa Hammond, Greenland's former prime minister, that's just been the tip of, well, the iceberg. Holy macaroni. There are bears everywhere in western Greenland this year, she told Explorers Web. Quite a few have been way too close to towns in southern Greenland this summer. And that's bad for, well, vacationers and tourists. Several polar bears have been shot in Qaqortoq as the bears were literally walking through town. 2 polar bears even appeared in the popular 100-kilometer Arctic Circle Trail between Kuglisgrak and Sismut. Because bears are rare in that part of the Arctic, hikers and locals don't carry firearms and would be, well, immediately eaten. And that's not good for tourism. Hammond said several hikers have canceled their plans due to the potential threat that bears will eat them. Commenters on the Arctic Circle Trail's Facebook page have warned that calling for helicopter evacuations when you merely sight a polar bear is likely not covered by your insurance, and you either have to let the bears eat you or pay tens of thousands of dollars to be rescued. No thank you, Greenland. I'll stay here in Colorado. Now, scientists propose building a Noah's Ark on the moon. Now, we already have one here on Earth, and you all know where that is, in Svalbard. Concerned about the growing number of species on the brink of extinction each year, which happens every year and is completely a manufactured crisis. Because as species go extinct, new species emerge, and this has been going on, well, for billions of years on Earth alone. But concerned about the growing number of species on the brink of extinction each year, scientists propose to create a large freezer to store animal DNA. The best option for this is suggested to be the moon, because the moon boom, first of all, but it's extremely cold, and it would preserve that DNA indefinitely. The only problem is there's no way to protect it from cosmic rays, and I think these people are completely full of shit and are just looking for billions of dollars in capital funds to waste everyone's money to do nothing. There has been no need to preserve DNA for billions of years for any reason. Evolution happens on purpose. There is a catastrophe that occurs and a need for new species to fill ecological voids. And that's why we get new species. And the fact that also during magnetic excursions, cosmic rays cause massive malfunctions in genetic material, creating new genetic material, creating new species. There is no way that you could safeguard DNA on the moon unless you buried it miles underground and you figured out a way to protect it from cosmic rays. Because the one thing we know that mutates genes, it's cosmic radiation. And the moon is being bombarded with it constantly. Even if you put it on the near side of the moon, which is safe from cosmic rays, there is no way we can shield from cosmic rays. And the moon is being bombarded regardless of where you are. This is all a fairy tale. The same fairy tale that Elon Musk is living, that we're going to live on Mars. Absolutely impossible. Any mission of humans going to Mars is a suicide mission based on all factual science. Now, speaking of factual science, tomorrow on the radio show, Lee and I were going to be covering the latest science in cosmology. Dark matter does not exist, and the universe is now 27 billion years old. What happened to the Big Bang? Did we just double the Big Bang? That's a big boom. and a big lose for the standard model of cosmology. And we're going to basically stick our foot up the of all the cosmologists on the entire planet that refuse to look at the data and come up with a new model. They're constantly baffled. Cosmologists are baffled. Well, new papers coming out are showing multiple spiral galaxies with no dark matter whatsoever. And yet, the standard model of cosmology claims that over 90% of the universe is dark energy and dark matter. I don't think so. I think they're way off the mark and that they are all incapable of looking at it in a different perspective, unlike Lee and I. So join us over at Revolution Radio, noon Mountain Time, Studio B, which is right here. Just click play. And you'll hear the radio show version of our Magnetic Reversal News podcast at 8 p.m. Go get it. Once again, Lee and I will be at the 35th Annual Crestone Energy Fair, September 14th and 15th, 2024. The theme of the fair is rooting forward. And there's going to be so many interesting interactive discussions about natural building, alternative living, permaculture, alternative energy, healing, medicinals, many other things. All naturally available, none of which comes from corporations. Yeah, this is a 35-year ongoing program to teach you how to build your own home, take control of your own life, develop your own food sovereignty, and basically stick your foot up the man's. Yeah, learn how to survive and thrive, be seed sovereign. Lee and I are going to be doing a 2-day workshop in one of our booths on how to save seeds and how to get started using permaculture for the best results. So join us all, including Alien Allen, over at the 35th Annual Crestone Energy Fair, September 14th and 15th, and there will be no mosquitoes because it'll be fall. And that's a boom to knowledge. Please share the video. We are shadow banned, and we need your help to grow. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired and being shadow banned. And the only way non-subscribers can see this is if you share it with them, because YouTube won't allow it. We love you all. Be safe. And we'll see you in Crestone.